Under his leadership, CeNSE contributes to strengthen its position as one of the India's premium centers for semiconductor technology and development. Now, Professor Ghosh will present the CeNSE report card, highlighting the center's achievements, milestones, and contributions towards advanced research, infrastructure, talent development, and semiconductor ecosystem. Sir, may I please request you to present the CeNSE report card.
I don't think I've presented my report card after school ever. It does feel like that a little bit, but we have been performing reasonably well, so I feel confident in that sense. A very warm welcome to all of you. Good morning. You know, it's lovely to see the seats all filled up, and I think the coffee has worked. Everybody seems to be awake. I have about 20 minutes, 25 minutes ahead of me. Shushavan, can I ask you for a small favor? If I'm not in the INFIfab slide by the 15th minute, stop me, okay? Because I have an agenda. I want to, of course, talk about what we have been doing for the last 10, 15 years, especially what happened in the last year. But I want to focus the last 20%, or at least maybe even 30% of my talk on what lies ahead. And I think that's important. This conference is about CeNSE and CeNSE's role in the ecosystem. But I think this is also about what the ecosystem can do for itself along with CeNSE. So that's where we want to go. Our motto is Science, Two Systems, Two Society. And that has been the motto from day one. I think we are going in the right direction, but this is where the ecosystem needs to come in to ensure that whatever science that happens here reaches the society in a way that's truly impactful. I want to highlight, and although I am have been the chair for about a year, we all are part of a continuous journey that began back in 1998. And then overall, everything that has happened so far has been a continual process where, unlike, I guess we start building on the shoulders of what happened before and then walk together towards what lies ahead. So starting in 1998, I think this was the office of PSA, somebody we all like very much, Chidambaram's vision that started this nanoelectronic centers at IISc and IIT Bombay. And then with this vision started the CeNSE as a department in IISc back in 2010. I think the first 5 years was just hard work, creating the facilities, making sure it's open to everybody, making sure that all the systems are in place. I think 2015 onwards, a rapid expansion began. We were confident the facilities were all in place. And then subsequently, as things got streamlined, rapid expansion into new areas, new faculty members, large number of students, a whole team of technical and administrative staff that started working. And this was also the time we realized that, this is the time we need to also ensure that industry works with us, strategic sector works with us deeply. Before that, they were mostly coming in as funders, but then I think around this time, we started working very, very closely in this round time frame. I think 2020, 2025 was one of the first times we started going into the geeky foundry, the gallium nitride foundry. I think Vasu is here. He will be able to tell you much more about it when he moderates the next session. But I think that was really our foray into making truly impactful research go into society through our system. So I think I will tell a little bit about what we learned from the GaN Foundry in the next phase, which is 2025. And right now we are directly aligned with some of the major missions that are happening in the country. Semiconducting mission, quantum mission, the quantum computing hub is actually located at CeNSE. And of course, also the supercomputing mission. And what lies ahead is INFIfab. Just wait a little bit till I go there. Some numbers, it's very, very difficult to go through all of these numbers, but don't get, maybe I just need to put a little bit of a marker here. This number is, actually this is okay actually. This number is kind of an understatement, because along with the 19 core faculty members that are present in the department, there are many across the institute and the country with whom we work very closely. So the actual impact is far, far more, and that you can see simply by looking at this number. Just back in 2025, just in 1 year, we are talking about having this ecosystem reach 4,000 plus folks all across the country. We have tremendous amount of industry engagement, and this number we expect to grow as the ecosystem grows in the coming years. So the next 10-15 minutes, I'm going to tell you a little bit about our research directions, how the research output, that's really the report card of the system. I'm going to tell you a little bit about the various ways in which we are engaging with the ecosystem, industry, startups, government, various missions, on two threads, both on the R&D front as well as on the talent development front. And then finally is, of course, what lies ahead. How have we grown, starting from our pure Center for Nanoscience and Engineering? I think the best way in which this is summarized is, initially we were talking with electrons and photons, electricity and light, but then we have grown beyond, and now we are talking about molecules and qubits. So molecules are the ones which are carrying the signals, and the signals are not simple photons, simple electrons. Now we are talking of qubits as well. It's electrons and photons and two molecules and qubits. We go across several technology science frontiers, materials, of course 2D materials and wide bandgap semiconductors, thin films is some of our major foray that we have forayed into, electronics, photonics, various microsystems like microfluidics, MEMS, NEMS. We touch across various sectors. Of course, nanobiomed is one of our thrust areas, along with quantum. And in recent years, we are starting to look very deeply into computing, both chaos-based computing as well as neuromorphic computing. Just to give you a sort of a one-slide summary of how the research and scientific outcomes have come. Of course, the number of papers have gone up dramatically over the years. The citations that have gone up, steadily going up. Something that we always valued is, of course, the publications need to be impactful. I don't know what's the best way of pointing it out, but if you go by something called high impact publications, we have done extremely well. A number that I want to highlight, I think Nature is supposed to be one of the top journals that everybody respects. I think 2 years ago, there were about 4 papers in Nature that came from India, of which 3 came from IISc, and of those 3, 2 came from CENSE. So that's the way we are doing. So overall, there has been tremendous amount of faculty recognitions, ranging from Tata, Infosys, Bhatnagar, and so on and so forth. Academics at CENSE, I think it's important to say that the publications are primarily coming from the extremely hardworking students, postdocs, staff that support this research. And we have a very, very successful PhD program, along with an MTech program and also joint MTech programs. And this is one of the ways in which we are trying to connect to both industry as well as universities outside India. The students have done extremely well. They are not all going abroad. Some of them are going abroad, and they need to do. And similarly, many of them are also staying back in the country. It's approximately 50-50. Many of them are working in sort of the academia as PhDs and postdocs. Many of them are working in the industry. Again, I think we have been extremely well in which our students have gone and supported the ecosystem. The talent that we have created, these are just some of the examples, ranging from Indian industry, foreign industry, Indian strategic sector. Many of them have started their startups, and that trend is just going up dramatically as we speak. Many of them are now professors in academia, and I'm so happy to see many of them today out here. So, our tentacles are spreading, I think. And then, of course, many of them are also pursuing higher studies in the US. The placement-wise, we have done really well. So thank you, the ecosystem, for the support, and let's hope we continue working together in this way. It's important to point out that the 200 PhD or master students that we have graduated is only a small part of the human resource that we have created so far. over the years, and this is a summary slide, I'm going to touch upon some of the basics in coming times. We have gotten various programs funded by the government, industry, CSR initiatives, through which we have reached out to 6,000 plus human resources and almost more than 880 organizations we have helped out in some way. Once again, I want to stress the major facilities at CeNSE are open facilities. They are open to anybody in the country and the world. So this is the shared ecosystem that we pride ourselves in, and it will continue like this, and that I can guarantee from the leadership of the department at all times. To give you some examples of the talent development, the key point here is, if you look at it, we try to impact everybody from the 10th standard up to academia and industry leaders through our various programs. It started with a certain CSR initiative in which we are reaching out to school children, and of course then there are advanced workshops, foundational workshops that are focused towards academia and industry. A specific one that I want to highlight is the IISc LAM Research Joint Training Program, in which it started with IISc and LAM, through which we trained various teachers at different universities, through which now students from those universities are getting trained in the simulator 3D. So this is a way in which we are now getting a trickling down effect, or not just trickling down, I would say a branching effect of our training that we want to expand more in coming times. So this is really one that we wanted to highlight. Of course, of all our programs, INFIfab has been the longest standing and perhaps the most impactful so far, starting back in 2007. Over the years, the way it has happened, it's a completely shared program, a completely free program for anybody in India. They can come, carry out, first learn about the basic techniques in NanoFab, then get trained, and then even get their research covered, completely free of cost. And in none of the papers, none of the publications, patents, you would ever see any CeNSE faculty name. And they would come here, carry out their research, own their IP, and subsequently move on with their programs. And we are extremely proud of it, and we hope it will continue over the coming years. I want to highlight a very recent initiative through which we are now reaching out to students from the tribal community. This is a skilling program. I must thank Vasu and Shoshavun for spearheading this particular program. This allowed us now to have a dedicated training fab. So the idea would be entirely for training. This will be a bunch of tools that are already present at the second floor of CeNSE that will be again open for all the training programs that we run. And very recently, less than a month old, the training fab was actually inaugurated by our Honorable President. So going forward, we would be able to expand our training programs far more with this specific facility. I want to now go beyond training and start talking about startups and incubation. And as a chair of the department, this is something that I am stressed the most. Out of 19 faculty members, 11 of them are startup founders. And it's mandated. They can do all the startups they want, but they still have to teach, still have to do their PhD research and continue writing their publications and so on. So that's the stress we put on the faculty members, and I'm happy to say that they are taking the load very, very nicely. These are the 6 or 7 that CeNSE faculty members founded startups. In addition, our incubator wing in CeNSE has another 7 startups that have been incubated at CeNSE, which are using the CeNSE facilities. And I'm happy to say that in coming years, coming few weeks to a month, you will see 4 more coming up in coming very soon. And all of these are in extremely impactful areas, true cutting-edge technologies, and you will hear more about it. So again, something we are very, very, very proud about. This talk will be incomplete if I do not mention the tremendous amount of strategic sector engagement that we have had over the years. I think even when the overall industry ecosystem was not ready, strategic sector came forward, supported us, And many of the technologies that have been developed at CeNSE has moved to the strategic sectors. Our students have joined the strategic sector, spearheaded new programs, working with us. And again, there has been so many technologies that have been transferred to ISRO, DRDO, BRC. So again, something we are most gratefully acknowledge. Industry interactions, there are various modes in which we interact with the industry. Of course, joint R&D projects, MTech fellowships, placements, trainings, facility usage, so on and so forth. And this is just a representative slide on the number of industries that we have worked on over the last couple of years. Time-wise, I'm doing good. What's so special about us? Of course, science, two systems, two society. But there is something interesting about this particular slide. This entire chain is actually done at the department at our facilities. Starts with growing this material, but just growing the material is not good enough. You need to know what you need to do with it, what you can do with it. So the numerical simulation comes in. This is probably some electron density calculation in a GaN-algan type of a layer. Subsequently, a device gets made at the clean room. This gets packaged at the packaging and systems facility. And finally, an entire system gets built. In this particular case, it's some form of a DC converter. This is just an example of a GaN system that's made at CeNSE. But this taught us something. So when you looked at this, and you then try to see, well, what's really happening at the department, you realize something. You realize that over the years, we have created large number of technologies. Of course, our bread and butter is fundamental research. You just cannot forget that. So there are, of course, lots and lots of TRL less than 4 science technologies that have been developed. But then they go up a little bit, and we can do some amount of proof of concept, go up in the TRL. But then as we go up this TRL chain, the numbers slowly start going down. Of course, there are products that has happened. But still, there is a tremendous bottleneck that we realize as we go up this TRL chain, as we start going from a proof of concept to a product. So I was at Bharat Innovates just actually till about 24, reached less than 24 hours. So one of the things that, one of the group discussions we have had there was from lab to fab. And in fact, Vasu, to some extent me, we helped Professor Rangarajan, who was the director of the institute, was part of this discussion. And one of the main points that got discussed in that group discussion is what exactly is stopping us from going from the lab into the fab. And there seems to be a bunch of things that keep on coming, in that particular discussion. And that seems to be the answer. Academia can do the papers, can do the patents, can do the proofs of concept technologies. But in order to go into the product, there needs to be an ecosystem that supports the entire chain. And India has a missing gap there. All the prototypes that we create are in numbers 1 or 2. But for a product, we need to have maybe 50, maybe 100, maybe 1,000. That depends on the particular product. That India does not have. So our vision is a facility with infinite possibilities. We call it INFIfab. This is what lies ahead. Something like this does exist in the Western world. We all know about IMEC. The entire semiconductor ecosystem builds upon what happens at IMEC. IMEC does not create products per se. It does not do fundamental research. It bridges that gap. Then there is Albany Nanotech. There is LETI. India does not have it. Of course, we'll have to have focus. Right now, we are talking about more than more technology. I'll show you in the next one slide. There are a couple of things that we believe we are already working on. We have already started to raise funds, create the basic infrastructure, but we need more. So if INFIfab were to become India's gateway to the global semiconductor sector. These are some of the things that we are going to do. So the vision right now is we are already going to talk about, we already have the support to have certain low volume lines. As I told you, we already have funding from the National Quantum Mission as well as the Wadhwani Foundation to start having a prototyping line for the superconducting and the photonic vertical of the quantum processor development. So the quantum computing hub is at CeNSE. For neuromorphic, we are again trying to create a line here for which we already have sanctioned funding. We are talking about the next funding for the gallium nitride fab, next phase. We are talking about a photonic IC-based system, and on MEMS and NEMS, we are again talking about a very, very major proposal that's going to come over the next couple of years. The idea is, and you can see it highlighted in yellow, you are right across the present CeNSE building, somewhere between the present CeNSE building and the large interdisciplinary building that you would see. The part in yellow talks about is where the proposed INFIfab is going to be. We are talking about a major clean room and utility structure. We are talking about a total of almost 100,000 square feet. We have some of the support already raised out of this 1,500 crore project. Right now, we are looking at a way of raising the funding for the building. The building is approximately 130 crores, that's envisioned, and we are talking to HNIs, industry sponsors, philanthropic agencies for this particular building. So this is what lies ahead. So hopefully, in our next run, 2 years from now, we might be able to have it in the new building. So with that, I would like to thank you for your attention and happy to take any questions.